thoroughly documenting all our code and the process of getting set up. We're also planning to work on optimizing screen capture because last quarter we found every time we perform a screen capture, it lags the system quite a bit. Another thing we also want to implement is dragging. So when someone were to touch the touch screen and drag it across the screen, it would be able to scroll through various elements like the thumbnails and slide. Finally, also we want to implement new features like a login page for professors to log into their own personal sort of workspace.
So at the beginning of the quarter, we realized that there's a pretty high turnover rate. So there's a lot of new people coming in and a lot of old people going out. And so we want to streamline this. Oh yes, and we also want to test the UI on several machines. So I have Ubuntu at home in order to be able to compile and test it at home in case there's something different with our laptop or something. And so we want to test it on more machines. So therefore we want to streamline setting up this development environment. And so previously we had to install Ubuntu, and then we had to manually get all these libraries, which took a while. And also, more annoyingly, we had to compile and install Flutter GST 1.0, and then make some changes in a BAPI file in it. But now, thanks to Kevin Magic, we just have a script that does everything for you, and then you can just check out a SPN checkout right after that.
So the last slide I was covering, we're just going to go off with documentation. So like I said, a big problem that we had was a huge lack of decent documentation. A lot of the new people didn't realize how to get into the code because most of the functions weren't properly documented. So the reason why we started with documentation is so we can all familiarize ourselves with the commenting style, because the way Voldoc works, which is the documentation generator for the software that we're coding up, you have to follow a strict sort of style. If there's an extra space in between two asterisks or something, it'll complain and it won't create documentation for it. So there's a sort of strict guideline that you have to follow. And also, yeah, like I said, we need to make it easy for new people who are joining the project to understand what we're actually creating. Oops. Is this mine? Okay, right. So this is a continuation of the documentation. We've updated several wiki pages on track with information on how to get set up. Once again, we commented all of our UI classes and functions, and we managed to compile and get the Baller documentation generator up and running. And finally, we're actually integrating this documentation process into our actual workflow. So we have a command inside our make file where you just type make doc, and it'll automatically generate the documentation for the code that we're doing. And this is a screenshot of the documentation that's generated. So right here you can see constants that we've declared, the various namespaces, and here are the several classes as well as descriptions that goes along with it. So yeah, it's pretty comprehensive. Okay, so like I said, another feature that we're working on is dragging gestures. This is sample code that you can actually get from the SVN. You can actually compile it and run it. And what this allows you to do is, what we've been trying to experiment is how to actually drag through the thumbnails on the professor UI. And this sample allows you to sort of test that functionality. You can actually grab this button and drag it from side to side, and you'll able to see command line output depending on where you drag and drop this button. And I'm not going to go over this because we don't have that much time. This is
So our login page, yay! It's got our beautiful logo on it, and of course, so the login, we're planning to use the same login ID and the same password as Moodle. So right now we just need this page to somehow interface interface securely with Moodle and return either just a yes or no, or later on we'll have it return the entire settings so that it'll set up the screen and the UI the way that the professor had it last time, as well as download the professor's files that he uploaded to Moodle.
This is what we have left to do for this quarter.